Welcome, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are coming from in the world today. Big warm welcome to True Temperance International, which is the family health show. It's good to have everyone on the show today. We see we have people streaming in currently. So a bit about True Temperance International while we're waiting. We're an international health ministry with the aim of helping members and viewers with health-related information and equipping them with the knowledge of how they can better take care of themselves, their loved ones, and their family. And we actually do this on the back of the New Start program, which is a principle that is made up of nutrition, exercise, water, sunshine, temperance, air, rest, and trust in God. So that's a principle that we like to go by, and it works very, very well. So my name's Brent Hart. I'm coming out of the Eastern Cape and the not so sunny South Africa today. And my co-host is Sharon Wallace, and she's coming out of the United Kingdom. Hi, Sharon.
Hi, everybody. Hello, those of you who are joining us live on YouTube. Thanks for joining us. Those of you who are joining us live on Zoom, again on Zoom, thanks for joining us. We are looking forward to another interesting, educational, life-changing, possibly even presentation today. So please stay tuned and you will not be disappointed. And who's presenting today, Brent?
A bit of both, I think, Sharon.
No, I mean presenting.
Oh, okay, yes. So today we have none other than Barbara O'Neill presenting, and Barbara will be covering a very important topic under Fearfully and Wonderfully Made, and brought to us by Know Your Body. Barbara, many of us know Barbara quite well. Barbara has been around for many years. She got into health in her mid-20s and got into health mainly to assist the children and to take care of them naturally. And in about, I think it was 1998, where Barbara and Michael, her husband, actually started up their own health retreat, and that is still running today. So Barbara will be bringing us a very, very interesting show today. And if you want to view any of Barbara's previous shows, you can go back, I think it was in June on YouTube, where she ran out with a program on True Temperance International, What is Truth? So there's something that you can go back to over there.
Yep. So welcome to True Temperance International again, Barbara. You could just say hello, let everyone hear your voice.
Hello, everyone. It's good to be here.
Okay, and it's great to have you with us. Now, a couple of weeks ago, when we had Dr. Louisa present, I put her on the spot with a couple of questions just so that we can get to know her a bit. And I'm going to do the same again with Barbara, so she doesn't know what I'm going to ask her. So here we go. Question number one. What is your favorite color?
I think my favorite color is blue, even though I've got green on today.
Okay, blue, that's great. Any particular reason?
Whenever I wear blue, people say, wow, your eyes are so blue. Maybe it's because I've got blue eyes, but I think you're attracted to the color that maybe sits well with you.
Okay, so blue suits you. Yeah. And my second question is, of all the fruits that you've tasted, and I'm sure you've tasted quite a few, so we're not talking about vegetables, just fruits, and fruits is anything with a seed or a few seeds in. So of all the fruits that you've eaten, or any plant-based something with a seed, what's your favorite?
Well, that's a very difficult question.
I thought it was going to be easy, but there you go.
There's so many, but I think one that I enjoyed very much in my Mexico stay recently was dragon fruit.
You like dragon fruit?
Oh, I love dragon fruit. Yes.
I know there's different flavors, that you get some that are sweeter than others. Was it the red one or is it white?
Well, whenever I go to, in Asia, I usually have the red, which I just love. But in Mexico, I had the white, and I certainly enjoyed it.
Have you had dragon fruit before, Brent?
No, we don't get those in South Africa, Sharon. So we wouldn't know what it is.
Okay. That's one for you to research.
It looks like it's full of chia seeds.
Yeah,
Yes.
lots of seeds.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Don't know why they call it dragon.
Where's that grown only in America, Barbara?
No.
Oh no, it's
Asian, isn't it?
around the equator. So I usually have it if I'm in islands around the equator. So in Mexico, I had it.
Okay.
Right, so I'm just going to go over to our promo slides. So if you just bear with us, we're just going to bring that up. So, Brent.
Yes, so what we have is season 2 that we'll be covering again on Fearfully and Wonderfully Made, Know Your Body. So that's been our program of late. So if we can go to slide 2 there, please, Sharon. So today, Barbara will be covering the feet of the Lord for us today. And she'll be delving into various topics regarding the feet. And she was just commenting on how long she can chat about feet today, but we'll see what Barbara's going to pull out of the hat here for us. As I've gone over, Barbara is quite versed in various health-related topics, so she comes with a wealth of information. And if you just
we'll have hands as well.
Yes.
So we'll be talking about hands and feet, but maybe mostly feet.
Yeah. And then if you want to go to the next, so then we're also going to be hearing from Barbara tomorrow, and at 2 o'clock the UK time, where she'll be covering hair, skin, and nails under Fearfully and Wonderfully Made, and with the title The Armor of God. So yes, please tune in tomorrow at 2 o'clock UK time, where Barbara will also be joining us to lead out with The Armor of God. Then our disclaimer, if you can just cover that for us, please, Sharon.
Right, so on our disclaimer, which I should know off by heart, sorry, it's just covered up by something on my screen here. So TTI disclaimer. TTI stands for True Temperance International. Only a physician can diagnose, treat, and prescribe for illness or disease. Any information disclosed or discussed at the TTI Family Health Show is for educational and informational purposes only. Please, please, please continue to seek professional medical advice from your general practitioner regarding any illness or disease that you may be suffering from. I hope that's clear.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sharon. Good. Then we've also got our various groups, our Telegram groups that you can subscribe to for our members. So we have our Women's Wellness Group where you can subscribe. We have a Men's Wellness Group. And then we also have a spiritual group that we have during the week. So please go and subscribe to those. Take a screenshot now of those various links. And we encourage you to please add yourself to those groups where we just like to bring additional content for our viewers throughout the week.
That's right. And
so
yes.
to expand on that for Sharon.
Yeah. So what we usually do, if you're first time on here, we usually set a challenge each week, after each presentation. And so it's one way where we can encourage you as you go along with the challenge, and we can share whether it's making something, It could be a new recipe that you've come up with and you want to share with the groups. So it's a way we can do that. And also for encouragement with the spiritual health group, we can share possibly prayer requests and devotionals and things like that, just to encourage us on our spiritual journey as well. So the men's health group deals with men's issues, the women's wellness group. Again, if you're female, you join that one. If you're a man, you join the men's one, and either gender can join the spiritual health group. So moving on,
we've got our Battle of the Mind series, where we are covering very, very exciting topics brought to us by Lewis Harris and Alvin McQueen. And we're leading out with that between 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. Every Tuesday night, and that'll be UK time. And we're delving into, at the moment, we just finished Assault on the Tower, and we're going to be carrying on this series. So whoever's been subscribing to that and logging on, please come back. We're going to be continuing that series every Tuesday night between 7 and 8 o'clock. So please join us on that going forward.
Also, for those of you who have read the book of Daniel or seen bits of it, excerpts from it, or even if you have a thorough understanding of the book of Daniel, they have been looking through, or we have been looking through on there, recently the statue. So that's a clue. If you wish to join, you want to be looking around the topics to deal with the statue of Daniel. That's what we were looking at recently. So we were looking at the different metals, if you're familiar with that story. So please join in and learn a lot. You can learn a lot more as we learn together about the relevance of the dream that Nebuchadnezzar had to today. How relevant is it to 2021? Come and join and you'll find out more.
Brilliant.
Every Thursday, every other Thursday, I correct myself, we have an essential oils class where we're just going to, where we share how essential oils can be used to benefit our health, benefit our bodies. These are natural properties that are in the plants that God's put there for us that we can use. We can inhale them, we can diffuse them, we can massage with them. Some of them we can even ingest if you've got quality oils. So we on a Thursday, we have classes that starts at 7 p.m. UK time. We will share with you the details for that. So you'll have the Zoom ID. There's no passcode for that one, but we'll share that with you. If you've been on before, it's the same link. And that's starting 7 p.m. and we'll have one on this Thursday. So we had a break last Thursday, but we'll be continuing this Thursday.
Yeah, and we also just encourage our members to go onto our YouTube channel and subscribe again. Click on the bell icon over there, and then yes, please like our channel. That we can get more likes from you, and we'd like to build that. And just like to thank you for your support. If anyone would like to donate towards our ministry, there's our account details, and please feel free to go on there and make any donations towards our cause. It will be most appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So I will stop the share there, and we'll speak a little bit about last week's challenge.
Yes.
So those of you who missed last week, sorry, those of you who missed last week, we had, what was it, the title? Juice for Health.
Benefits of juicing, yes.
Yeah, Juice for Health.
Where you covered the benefits of juicing, Sharon. Charlene covered raw foods and the benefits thereof. Edgar and yourself covered the benefits of ginger and other specific foods that are useful. And then it was ended off with Jonathan and Charlene offering a practical demonstration on different recipes and what have you. So we encourage the members to try out some juicing recipes and and to do a bit of juicing last week. So we welcome and open the platform up now for anyone to possibly come back to us with their experiences around that.
So yeah, this is your opportunity to unmute and share with us. What we spoke about was beetroot, carrots, kale, and ginger, and the benefits of juicing with those. So is there anybody that tried a juice this week? You know, perhaps you don't like to eat it, but you didn't mind juicing it, or got your family interested in having some vegetable juices, green juices, fruit juices. Anybody who tried it? And we also spoke about using the muslin square, blending and then squeezing the juice through. So is there anybody who tried it? Perhaps for the first time, or even if you're a seasoned juicer. Okay, are you able to unmute? Oh, everybody's shy. Everybody's shy. Well, we had some juices this week. Anyway, we had carrot, and what was it? Carrot and ginger, Edgar? That you did. Yeah, carrot and ginger. And that's one of those vegetables that I really didn't like. But I had to put my likes to one side. And now I've learned to like.
Shot, Sharon, any ginger
Pardon?
shots in the morning? The ginger shot?
Oh, I love a ginger shot, but it wasn't the ginger shot. It was the carrots. I had to try and get the benefits of pain relief in my joints. And I know that I need it. So I had to put likes to one side. And I actually do like it now. So thank God I've conquered that one. But if there's nobody else that wishes to unmute and share their experience or their testimony.
Yeah, I have a nice 3 to 5 day juice recipe that I'll share on the group, Sharon. On
the Telegram group?
Yes, and it gives you a list of fruits and vegetables you need to have, and you can either go green, purple, orange, and you can choose, what you want to do, and it's quite a nice one. They're quite tasty, so I'll share that on the group.
That's great. And if there is anybody who is interested in juicing, by all means, you can go back on our YouTube channel, type in True Temperance International Juice for Health, and you will see the presentation on there that was from last week.
Yeah, there's a couple of recipes there that were posted, weren't there?
Definitely. We did put some recipes up there as well. Right, so I think it's now time that we're going to go over to Barbara, that she can share with us what it is, what it means about the feet, like Jesus.
Okay, thank you very much for the invitation to come to this remarkable series. As the Bible says in Psalm 139 verse 14, I will praise you. Yes, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well.
Okay, just a little interruption here. Edgar keeps waving his hands to me, so he's reminding me it's hands as well. It's not just the feet. So I think we'll be quiet now and allow you to share with us about feet and hands. I'm not going to lift up my feet because you know what they look like. They're just feet.
Okay. So I'd like to have a look at feet and hands, and I'd like to have a little look at what the Bible says. I always like to finish with Bible and end with Bible, and it's a story I think we all know very, very well, and it's the lovely story of Mary. Mary had been saved from certain death, from being stoned, having been caught in adultery, and noticed that they threw her at Jesus' feet. And there was only one person in that whole crowd that had the right to cast the first stone, and that was Jesus. And when he said, let He who is without sin cast the first stone, and started writing in the ground. By the time he looked up, there was no one left. And he said, woman, where are your accusers? And she said, they have gone. And he said, well, neither do I. He said, go and sin no more. Mary's heart was touched. Her life had been saved. And so a little while later, when Jesus has been asked to dine with a group of Pharisees and other men, and we pick up the story in Luke chapter 7, about 38, that Mary slipped into the room and she knelt down at Jesus' feet. And she washed Jesus' feet, the Bible says, with her tears. And she wiped from the hairs of her head the tears on his feet. And then she anointed his feet with this costly ointment. We see another beautiful story when Jesus knelt down in front of his disciples and he washed their feet. We see another part in Luke 24, verse 39, when, do you remember Thomas? He said, I will not believe that Jesus has risen from the dead unless I thrust my hand in his side. And Jesus appeared before him. And remember what Jesus said? Behold my hands, behold my feet. And do you remember what Thomas did? He fell on the ground and said, my Lord and my God. He certainly acknowledged that. I'd also like to look at Romans chapter 12, verse 15, where the Bible says, how beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace and bring glad tidings of good news. And also going over to Ephesians 6:15, where we look at the armour of God, that our feet are to be shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. And looking at peace, I think the best description of that is when Jesus is speaking to his disciples in that upper room. And we find the story in John chapter 14, looking at verse 27, and Jesus says, peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you. You cannot get better peace than that. And so when Romans 10:15 says, how beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace. This is Jesus' peace. He just doesn't give us peace, he gives us his peace. And then he says, not as the world gives, give I unto you. And we know there's no peace in the world today. There's a crisis in the world today. It's not COVID crisis, it's the reaction to a flu that they have called COVID. So when people say, what can I do to protect myself against the COVID? I said, stop watching the news because all that news will give you is fear. And God said in 2 Timothy 1 verse 7, he said, I've not given you the spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind. And a sound mind considers how beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace. Jesus said, my peace I give unto you, not as the world gives, give I unto you. And then he says, let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be dismayed. The feet are right on the end of the body. They're right on the edge of the body. And before we look in detail at the feet, I'm going to go a little bit of anatomy and physiology here, and we're going to talk about your feet. I want to give you one very beautiful section from the Bible, and I think this is quite remarkable when we're looking at the feet of Jesus. It's found in Matthew chapter 15, verse 30. And it says, and great multitudes came unto him, having with them those that were lame, were blind, were dumb, maimed, and many others, and cast them down at Jesus' feet. Cast them at Jesus' feet. And I love the next bit, only 4 words, and he healed them. He is able. He is the creator. He is the healer of the body. He gave us a body with an inbuilt ability to heal itself. So the $1 million question is, how come so many people are sick? The body can heal itself if you give it the right conditions. Many people don't know what those conditions are. In page 127 of the Ministry of Healing, Ellen White says the only hope of better things is the education of people in right principles. What are these right principles? Principles that are timeless. Principles that have been in place since the creation of the world, the creation of this body. And I'd like to suggest principles that have been in place even before the creation of planet Earth. And principles that will ever be and will never, ever end. What are those principles? We're going to apply those principles to the feet today and the hands. Why the feet and the hands? Well, they are right on the edge of the body. They're way down the end, way over at the end. And they often get left out. Sometimes, and I'm sure you found this, you shake someone's hand and it's cold. And I always look at the person, I say, cold hands? And sometimes I say, they're always cold. Well, the life of the flesh, Leviticus 17:11 says in the blood. And if there's a lot of blood going into the hand, that hand will be warm and that foot will be warm. But if it's cold, now I can understand it's cold if you've just taken some things out of the freezer. It's going to be cold because you've just been handling some very cold things. But I'm sure we've all been at church. I always shake people's hands. I'm not afraid of a virus. I am not afraid of them. In fact, I even hug. People say, what are you doing to prevent yourself from getting the virus? I say, nothing. I've been given a body with an inbuilt ability to heal itself, and it'll heal itself when you give it the right conditions. So I am giving it the right conditions. I'm giving those 8 doctors. I visit those 8 doctors every day. And we need to visit the 8 doctors to get warm hands and feet. Because when we visit those 8 doctors every day, that ensures that the blood is going all through the body. If the blood is the life of the flesh, when the hands and feet are cold and the feet are cold, that means there's not a lot of blood going into the body. I'll give you an illustration. We had a guest come to our program a couple of years ago, and I always ask questions. And she said, I always have cold feet. I said, oh, how long have they been cold? Oh, years and years. Oh, why do you let them be cold? Well, they just get cold. And I said to her, well, I notice it's a very cool day today and I'm looking at your feet and you only have sandals on. And if I had sandals on, I would have cold feet, but I don't let my feet get cold. I say cold feet and cold hands are like naughty children. Don't let them. Don't let them. My little granddaughter, Tilly May, she's 2. And she got out of the car this morning. She was crying and she put her hands up for me to lift her. And I said, I will carry you when you stop crying. She looked at me. I said, I would love to carry you, but not while you're crying. I didn't let her cry. Adults, remember this. If you give a child something they cry for, you've just taught them a lesson. If you want something, cry, because if you cry, you'll get it. I didn't want to teach my children that. I don't want to teach my grandchildren that. I smiled. You know what the smile says? I love you. She nodded and I picked her up. Don't let your feet get cold. Now, I'm sure most people, when they wake up in the morning, their feet are warm because they've been in bed all night. So when I wake up in the morning, or if I wake up in the night to visit the bathroom because I'm a water drinker, and if I've drank a lot of water in the afternoon, I may need to get up in the night. I never put my feet on the cold floor. I always put my feet in slippers or in some shoes, because otherwise my feet will get cold. And by the time I've gone to the bathroom and those tiles on the bathroom floor are cold, and I go back into bed, my feet are cold. Don't let them be cold. You must keep them warm. So this lady was puzzled at the things I was saying. And then I explained to her, I said, did you know when your feet are cold, there's not a lot of blood going in there. And the blood is the life of the flesh, because the blood carries oxygen, it carries nutrient, it carries water, it carries away waste, it carries your white blood cells. That's why it's the life. And I want all of that in my toes. I want all of that in my feet. She said, well, something's happening lately. The lady was 45. I said, what is that? She said, my toes are numb. Her toes are numb. What does that mean? That means the nerves in her toes are dying. And they're dying because there's not been a lot of blood in her toes. So her toes are starting to die. And you know what happens when toes start to die? They lose their feeling. That's the first step. They lose their feeling, and then sometimes they start breaking down. Sores start to happen, and then gangrene sets in. Ooh, what happens then? Toes are amputated? No. There is no need for that. Remember, the body was designed to heal itself, and it'll heal itself if you give it the right conditions. Only a few weeks ago, I was talking to another lady who's had cold feet for 20 years. She's 40. And she told me that, in fact, it's a great big long name, and I don't usually go to great lengths to memorize all these names. But they'd given her a name for her feet because the bones in her feet were starting to disintegrate. Oh, what feeds bones? Blood. And if your feet are cold, there's not a lot of blood going into your feet. Because remember, those bones need the oxygen that the blood carries. Those bones need the water that the blood carries. Those bones need the nutrients that the blood carries. And those bones need the blood to take the waste away. So here we have two women, one whose toes have gone numb, another one whose bones are starting to deteriorate. And when I explained these things to them, I could see their eyes were open. Do you remember what Ellen White said? The only hope of better things is the education of people in right principles. They didn't realize. I said, you must keep your feet warm. So when you get out of bed, you put slippers on. Now, please don't put socks on that are made out of nylon, that are made out of acrylic, that are made out of polyester. I'm only a very light lady. I'm only very small. In fact, if I'm in America, I think I'm 100 pounds. If I'm in Australia, I'm about 48 kilos. So I don't have a lot of weight on me. I'm 5'2". And so I get cold very easily. Now, you might notice my nice green jumper I have on today when I actually like blue. But I couldn't pass this jumper by. And I know in America they call it a sweater. It's made out of cashmere. And cashmere is the softest wool, and it's half price. So me, as a little lady, I borrow from the sheep. I borrow from the sheep. Now, some sheep, especially if the wool is taken from the back of the sheep, it's a bit tough. It can be prickly. But if the wool is taken from under the neck, it's often called soft merino wool. Oh, I can wear that wool next to my skin because it is so soft. And so if you don't like wool because it prickles, it's start to investigate certain types. In fact, when I was in New Zealand, I bought possum socks. That's from the wool of the possum. Now it's a hollow shaft, the possum hair, so it cannot be spun. So it's usually 70% merino wool and 30% possum. It's so light and fluffy, and oh, those socks keep my feet warm. So please investigate. If you don't like wool because it prickles, have another look. Look for the soft merino. Look for lamb's wool. Look for cashmere. Look for natural fibres, because natural fibres work with the body because they're made out of natural fibre. And so look for your woolen socks. Now in Australia, we have something called Ugg boots. Have you heard of Ugg boots? It's UGH. Yeah, I got some thumbs up there. It's made out of lamb's wool, or it can even be sheep's wool. Well, if you get out of bed in the morning and put your feet into Ugg boots, oh, they'll keep warm. Now, they're not the most attractive boot, and we ladies like attractive things, so wear them around the house. But on my feet right now, I have some little leather boots and I have some bamboo stockings on because I'm in Wisconsin. It's up near the top of America, so it's actually quite cool this morning. So that's why I have my cashmere. And I'll just point to my neck. This is a silk scarf. Sometimes wool can be a little prickly around the neck, so I go for silk scarf. So I'd like to impress upon all our listeners, please, next to the skin, have natural fibres. So natural fibres are wool, are cashmere, certainly Angora is a lovely one, that's rabbit hair, and also mohair, that's a little bit of goat hair. So these are all very, very warm. Cotton is a natural fibre, but I know in Australia it's one of the most sprayed crops. So if you buy cotton, please wash it and put it on the clothesline. In London, do you have clotheslines? I notice here in Wisconsin, they don't put many clothes on the line. I do. I like to have my sun purify. I like to have the sun purify my clothes, and it certainly does. Now, near my daughter, Emma, in Wisconsin, there's a lot of Amish living around her. And even when it's snowing, they hang their clothes on the clothesline. At the end of the day, their clothes are frozen solid. They get the clothes, they flick them, and all the frozen ice is flicked off the clothes and it's 3/4 dry. And then they bring it inside and hang it around their wood fires. So let's go back to natural fibres. Silk, obviously, and hemp, bamboo. Now, bamboo is often given the name viscose. You might have seen the fabric viscose. Viscose and rayon and tencel, Tencil, they're all made out of wood pulp. So they can be considered natural fibres. Bamboo socks are very warm, but I'm warning you, they take a long time to dry. And when you wet them, they feel stiff like wood pulp. But when they dry, they go quite soft. I have a bamboo petticoat on at the moment. And so be mindful of your natural fibres next to your skin, because your skin absorbs, and your skin absorbs anything that it touches. So be very mindful of your skin. There's another natural fibre, and it's called modal, M-O-D-A-L. And it's the cellulose spun from the birch tree. So modal and viscose and bamboo and rayon are all from wood pulp. Now, it is true that in the process of turning these woods into fabrics, there can be a few chemicals used. So please, again, wash them, hang them on the clothesline, let the sun purify them. You see, there's pores all through our body. And tomorrow, when we look at skin, the armor of God, I'm going to show you in detail our magnificent skin. But the biggest pores in our skin is on the soles of our feet. So be very careful onto what your feet touch. So I'm very mindful in the summertime, if I'm wearing sandals, that I wear rubber thongs, rubber being a natural fibre. If I have sandals on, I have leather. My feet are touching leather, because the pores on the bottom of your feet are the biggest in the body. And whatever it touches, they absorb in through the skin. And we'll be looking at that process in more detail tomorrow. So be very mindful of that. Let's get back to the cold feet, because cold feet are a problem for many areas. We looked at how when they're chronically cold, there's no blood going in there, so the toes can start to die. We're also looking at how one lady, her bones began to break in her feet because her feet had been cold for so long. Something else is happening. When the blood goes from our torso down to our feet, not a lot goes into our feet, but the little bit that does gets chilled and then comes back to the internal organs up in our torso, and the body has to use energy to warm that up. Ellen White states that perfect health requires perfect circulation. Perfect circulation means my toes and my hands are as warm as the rest of my body. So please go to great lengths to make sure you keep your extremities warm. Make sure you have socks out of natural fiber, footwear out of natural fiber so they breathe. Make sure when you wear gloves, they also are out of natural fiber. It takes a little bit more work, and sometimes it can be a little bit more expensive, but I've had some really good finds in secondhand shops. In secondhand shops, you can often get some really nice, I'll call them again because I'm Australian, woolen jumpers, woolen skirts. So make sure that body's warm. But one of the most powerful ways to warm the body is exercise. And there is a type of exercise that is more powerful than other types of exercise. This is my most popular form of exercise. It's my favorite form of exercise because it's quick, because I'm a busy lady. I've got a lot of things happening. So I want exercise to be quick. So I discovered the high intensity interval training. And as the name implies, these are intervals of high intensity, intervals of recovery. And so the research on these, and I've read quite a few books on it, I'm a reader, 30 seconds high intensity, 90 seconds recovery, and usually done for a cycle of 6. Now that comes to about 15 minutes. That's giving you a couple of minutes here or there if you need a bit longer to recover. Your fitness is determined by your recovery time. And note your recovery time. How long is recovery time? Well, when your lungs are starting to breathe normally and when your heart rate settles down a bit and you can consider running up that hill again. You can't run up hills? Try the exercise bike. That doesn't work. Try the rebounder. Try push-ups. Try swimming. You just got to find something to do it. Where there's a will, there's a way. When you realize the power of exercise, you won't live without them. In the little book, A Health Ministry, she said, in a short time, you will so realize the benefits of pure air and exercise, you would not live without these blessings. I memorize that because I have found that to be true. It's only a blizzard that will keep me inside. Or maybe I've got a very early morning flight. And even then, I try and do at least 15 push-ups or stretches or things like this. Perfect health requires perfect circulation. I didn't think I needed to exercise. I was always busy, always running here, there. And then I stayed with a lady, and this was 18 years ago. I still had children at home. And I was staying with her for a week's seminar in, where was it, in New Zealand. She said, I go for a 5-kilometre walk every day. She said, would you like to join me? I said, fine, I'd love to. After 3 kilometres, I couldn't keep up with her. That was very embarrassing. She was twice my size. So that's like me carrying 2 25-kilo buckets on the walk, and I still couldn't keep up with her. The next day when I woke up, I could hardly move. My legs were so sore, my feet were so sore, my calf muscles. She said, are you coming? I said, sure. I had to go. I'm the health teacher. Anyway, she was just way ahead of me with her friend. When I came home, I had learnt my lesson. I began to implement an exercise program. How could I when I was so busy? I had to go to bed a little earlier, which allowed me to get up a little earlier so I could be back in the house by 6 a.m. Now, up until this time, I have to share with you, I commonly would have cold feet. And when my feet were cold, I was miserable. You ask my husband, he'd find me in our ensuite, sitting on our little ensuite bench with my feet in warm water in the sink. Even if I put socks, warm socks on, and my feet, it might take a couple of hours, they get cold again. Once I started implementing this exercise program, once I started running up and down those hills, I no longer have cold feet. You know, it took a couple of months to hit me. And my husband said, you don't sit in the sink anymore. What's happened to you? Now, a friend of mine who is a doctor, he's done 3 PhDs. And one of his PhDs was the effect of exercise on the cell. And he told me this, because he said one of his PhDs was specific on this. He said, when you do that high intensity interval training in the morning, when you do that high intensity and recovery, high intensity recovery, he said a network of capillaries is opened that equals the distance around planet Earth. That's phenomenal, isn't it? That makes us want to say, I will praise you, for I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Now, where are all those extra little capillaries that, by the way, would not be opened if you didn't do that run? They're in our extremities. They're in our hands. They're in our feet. They're in our brain. They're in our ears. They're in our eyes. For 20 years, my eyes have not deteriorated. I only use these glasses. They're only 2.5 magnification. I only use them so I can see little fine writing. But that's the only time I use them. These are the same glasses I was using 25 years ago. My eyes have not deteriorated anymore. And I believe it's because of my high intensity interval training. Those little capillaries, they not only warmed my feet and my hands, my hearing, my brain, my eyes. Praise be to God. No wonder exercise is often called the forgotten remedy. Now, saints, we need to be preparing for these final days. We need to be preparing for high school. You know, this is primary school. When we get to heaven, that's high school. And so this high intensity exercise is another important part of keeping the extremities warm, the hands and the feet. Make it so that the next time someone shakes your hand, they say, oh, you have such warm hands. You might have the opportunity to say, yes, would you like to show you why? Some of them might say, no, thank you. Some might say yes. And it's only when they say yes, you can share it. But there's another little treatment that you can do to get those feet warm a little quicker, because you cannot put cold feet into hot water. You cannot do that. If you put cold feet into hot water, you can damage the tissues, and it will also be painful for the person who has the cold feet, because if it's chronically cold feet, often their nerves aren't feeling anymore. In fact, some people's feet have been cold for so long they don't even know their feet are cold. I talked to a lady recently, and it was in the evening and it was quite cold, and she had sandals on. And I squatted down and I touched her feet. I said, your feet are cold. She said, yeah. As if, aren't they always cold? No, no, no. Perfect health requires perfect circulation. Not only are those feet deteriorating, but that cold blood, the little bit that does go in there, because if no blood went in there, they'd go gangrene and fall off. So a little's going in there, but not as much as should be. So let me tell you with the little medical missionary treatment that you can do. You cannot put cold feet into hot water. You could put cold feet into warm water and slowly bring it up a little bit. But there's another very simple way, and this is a foolproof way, and this is a very safe way. It's cayenne pepper compresses on the soles of the feet. So what you do is you get a piece of plastic the size of your foot, a little bit bigger actually, and then you fold over some kitchen paper, sometimes you call them paper towels, and you put that, and it'll already have a 1/2 inch of plastic all the way around it. It'll be the size of your foot. Then a tight little sprinkle of, just very light sprinkle of olive oil, not too much or you get olive oil everywhere and that's no fun. Just enough so that when you sprinkle 1/2 teaspoon of cayenne pepper on that little sprinkle of olive oil on the kitchen paper, the cayenne pepper sticks. In fact, when I do it, only half of the paper has oil on it, just a little sprinkle here and there. And then you put your foot on that. Remember, 1/2 teaspoon per sheet. That's 1/2 teaspoon per foot. And then you put a sock on. And if you think a bit of oil will leach out, then you can put a plastic bag on and tie it round and you sleep with that all night. You might even put another sock on and you sleep with that all night. Now, if I did that to my feet, by 4 a.m., I'd wake up with my feet so hot, I'd jump out of bed and put them under some cold water and rinse it all off, dry them and go back to bed. But if you have cold feet, usually by morning, they're just warming. Don't do it the next night. Give your foot a break, but maybe miss a night and do it again. And usually by the morning, your feet are nice, very warm. Maybe the first morning they'll be a little bit warm. But remember, you now got to do your part and keep them warm through exercise, through proper footwear. Also, I have met people with no feeling in their feet. Sometimes it's the side effect of chemotherapy. It's called peripheral neuropathy, which is no feeling in the feet. There can be a variety of causes for that, but they also respond to the cayenne pepper compress. If someone has no feeling in their feet, you cannot even put their feet in warm water, but you can use the cayenne pepper compress. Praise God for cayenne pepper. Remember, the life of the flesh is in the blood, and cayenne pepper is a blood stimulant. Some people say we can't use it because it's a stimulant. Well, don't liken it to caffeine, which is a nervous system stimulant. Don't liken it to nicotine or alcohol, which are nervous system stimulants. This is a blood stimulant, and the life of the flesh is in the blood. So anything that moves blood, praise God for. And remember Psalm 104, verse 14, that God gave herbs for the service of man. Those herbs are there to serve you. How long do you apply the cayenne compress? Well, what you do is you listen to the body. Remember, you're the doctor. In fact, if it's warm after 2 nights, you might not need to do it again. If after 3 nights it's still cold, do it again. Your body's response is your best guide. One man who had no feeling in all of his feet, he had multiple sclerosis. He said that when he sleeps at night, it's as if it feels like there's 2 lumps of lead on the bottom of his legs, and it's hard to sleep. We put cayenne pepper compresses on the bottom of his feet. In the morning, he was so happy. He said, it didn't feel like I had 2 lumps of lead on the bottom of my legs. And he said, and the little bit of pins and needles I can feel in my foot. Praise be to God. We did it every second night. Every second night, a few more pins and needles come. A few more pins and needles come. That's why you're the doctor. You're your own doctor, because only you know how different things go on your body. Only you know how you feel. Only you know what your body responds to. And so these are some of the natural remedies that can come in. But remember what the true remedies are. The true remedies are pure air, sunshine. Don't take anything into the body that will harm it. Go to bed early. 8 laws means 8 hours exercise a night. Sorry, 8 hours sleep a night. No, the good news is not 8 hours exercise. Lots of 8 minutes. And the other 8 from the 8 laws is 8 glasses of water a day. Keep that blood nice and thin so it'll get down to the extremities. So here are the true remedies. Exercise, go to bed early, a plant-based diet, lots of water, 8 glasses, and trust in divine power. Thank God every day for your body. Thank God for the healing powers that he put into your body. Thank God that we have a self-healing, self-cleansing organism. And if you don't get better overnight, thank God. Remember Galatians 6 verse 9, let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we will reap if we faint not. And also remember Hebrews 10, starting at verse 35, where the body says, cast not away therefore thy confidence, in the which is great recompense of reward, for ye have need of patience, in that after you have done the will of God, you might receive the promise. What's the promise? The promise is found in 3 John chapter 1, verse 2. Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospereth. That's God's promise. Cast not away, therefore, thy confidence in this amazing body, in these feet that have the ability not only to heal, but also to start functioning better. Cast not away your therefore your confidence in that, in the which is great recompense of reward. For ye have need of patience, in that after ye have done the will of God, you might receive the promise. For yet a little while, and he that shall come will come and will not tarry. Now the just shall live by faith. I believe that medical intervention is built on fear. Fear in a body that can't heal itself, so we've got to give drugs. So we've got to vaccinate. But the Bible says the just shall live by faith. Faith in the body that was created by God to heal itself, and it will heal itself if you give it the right conditions. Can you see the difference there? Faith in these feet that can start warming up. Let me tell you something a little bit more about the feet. Because the biggest pores on the whole of the body are on the soles of the feet, if someone's sick and cannot be touched, you can always do something to their feet. I met a lady one day. I had to visit her because she had chemical sensitivity so bad that she couldn't go anywhere where there was any drugs, any chemicals, any electromagnetic fields. And so I visited her and I sat at the end of her bed and I touched her feet and her feet were cold. So I said, can I massage your feet? She said, please. My hands were warm. Why were my hands warm? Because I keep the 8 doctors. I'd 8 hours sleep. I have 8 glasses of water a day. I have a whole lot of little sections of 8 minutes exercise coming to 15 minutes. 2 lots of 8 is 14 minutes. So I started to massage her feet little by little. At first I stroked them and then I massaged and I massaged. And as able, I went a little firmer, very light at first. After a while, I became a little firmer. And the whole time we were chatting. And as we chatted and as I massaged, it took about 7 minutes. I could feel warmth coming back into her feet. What am I drawing into those feet? I'm drawing blood into them by my massage. The good news is, if you don't have anyone to massage your feet, you've got your cane compress that you can use overnight. I massaged and I massaged. After 15 minutes, her feet were as warm as my hands. God has given us the touch of our hands, the touch of our hands. And so I touched her feet. I touched her feet. And as I touched her feet and massaged her feet, I drew the blood into the area. For that first 15 minutes, she was very wary of me. She was very wary of the lady with me, but she did give me permission to touch her feet. By the end of the 15 minutes, she had a huge smile on her face. Her whole body had relaxed because I massaged her feet. I massaged her feet, and by massaging her feet, I warmed her feet. And I also believe that God was able to touch this lady through my touch. Through my touch, God was able to touch this lady. Because her feet were warm, because her body now relaxed, she listened to what I had to say. She said, I've been everywhere. No one can help me. I just nodded as I massaged. And when her feet became warm, I put them in the blanket and I said, oh, this is made out of a microfiber. Do you have a woolen blanket? Her helper went and got a woolen blanket and we put those on the feet. The sheep are kept warm by that wool. They grow lovely, luxurious coats which are cut so that we can spin and weave and knit clothes so that we can be kept warm. God has given the medical missionary work as the right arm of the gospel message. It's been given as the right arm because in the story I just told you, that lady listened to me because of my massage. Most of the people that come to our health retreat are not Christians. And a lot of people that come to our retreat, on the first day, they get very bad headaches because they're coming off caffeine. And we don't serve caffeine. But we've got to bring relief to this headache. Remember what Jesus did? Remember what we said in that first one? They brought the sick to Jesus' feet and he healed them all. And so here's another treatment of the feet that will help with a headache, and that is a hot foot bath. When a person has a headache, the blood tends to congest in this area. And what we want to do is get the blood away from that area. And so we put the feet in hot water. Now, remember, the only time you won't put feet in hot water is if the feet are cold. So what if the feet are cold? Well, we start with warm water. And then as the feet warm up, we have got a kettle of boiling water. I always put my hand. God gave us hands for healing. I put my hand between their feet and the boiling water. And I put the boiling water in, and then my hand can do it. But you know what I usually do? When I'm first putting their feet in the water, I put their feet in my hand. I put their feet in my hands and I lower their feet into the water and I watch their face. And if I see a grimace, I bring my feet up. Is it too hot? We'll put a little bit more cold in. See what you're doing? You're reading the person, you're reading them, and you're working with them. And then their feet go in. And as it warms up, as their feet warm up, I could have put a bit more hot in. For a headache, it's usually 20 minutes hot foot bath. And usually every 5 minutes you come along, you put your hand in and you put the water between your hand and the boiling water going in. And you mix it with your other hand. And you look at their face, you're ever reading them. You're ever reading them. Now, while the feet are in the hot water, and remember what the hot water on the feet's doing? The hot water on the feet wants more blood, because when hot water touches the skin, there's a call for more blood, because hot water on the skin stimulates. What does it stimulate? Blood. And it'll take from where there's excess. And if there's a headache, there's usually excess blood in the brain, so it's called down to the feet. And so the headache eases. While the headache's easing, you can put a cold cloth on the head. And while the cold cloth sits on the head, you can use your hands to massage. Use your hands to massage and relax the shoulders. Oh, how much we can use these hands and these feet for. After 20 minutes, you can usually feel the body relax and the person begin to smile. And then when you end the hot foot bath, you have let's see, I'm in America and I'm from Australia. I would use 500 ml. In America, I'd use 16-ounce glass cold water. They lift their feet and you pour the cold water over their feet and they'll go, and then you'll quickly dry those feet, and then you put the feet into their socks, into their shoes. And you will find that they are greatly relieved by that. Can you see you've used your hands and their feet? Sometimes after 2 hours, the headache may return, then you'll do another hot foot bath. So remember your natural treatments. God gave herbs for the service of man. And you'll find in the 8 laws of health, the 7th law is use of water. And I love the way the prophet said use of water, meaning there's a time to drink water and there's time not to. And I think most people here realize drinking between meals is the best time. Not with your meals, or it'll water down your hydrochloric acid and you need that to digest your meal. And so water between the meals. So use of water, also using water as a treatment. So what you can also use is if someone has an ingrown toenail. So they've got an ingrown toenail and the toe is very inflamed. You do another treatment to the foot there, but not a hot foot bath. You do alternating. So you do hot water for 3 minutes, again, whatever they can cope with, and then ice cold for 30 seconds. So remember the 2 3s. 3 minutes hot, 30 seconds ice cold. You see, after 3 minutes, the first 3 minutes, it's stimulating. But after 3 minutes, the blood slows down. So before the blood has a chance to slow down, you go over to the cold. And it is stimulating initially too, because we are warm-blooded creatures. When cold water hits us, there's a reaction. The reaction is stimulating blood. So 3 minutes stimulating hot, just about to slow down, 30 seconds ice cold. Just about to slow down, back to the hot. 3 minutes, just about to slow down, back to the ice cold. And there's another 3. You do the whole thing 3 times. So that's 3 hots and 3 colds. That's 3 times. And what that does is that stimulates blood. Remember, blood is a stimulator. Blood is the healer. You could reach around and plug it in. I've got a friend here who just needed to plug something in. Now, what that does, 3 minutes hot, 30 seconds ice cold, and you do that 3 times, that stimulates blood to the area. Now, remember, Leviticus 17:11 says the life of the flesh is in the blood. And remember what the blood contains? It contains, number 1, oxygen. It contains, number 2, nutrients. It contains, number 3, white blood cells, but it also carries the old blood away. So with the ingrown toenail, with an infected toenail, that's what you want, more blood. So that's the alternating hot and cold foot baths. And that's a powerful treatment if ever a person has aching joints, if ever a person has infected toes, anything like that, the alternating hot and cold is very powerful. So that's another foot treatment. I'd like to talk a little bit more about how people use their feet. Probably from about the 80s, when joggers were introduced to people who were runners, they padded up the heel so that that would encourage people to heel strike. Now, have you ever run barefoot on grass? You will never heel strike. Your body will not let you heel strike, because God designed the foot to strike with the toes. So when you're running, make sure you toe strike. Excuse me, a door's been left open. Thank you for your patience. I had to shut the door. There's a book called Born to Run by Christopher McDougall. Very interesting book about a man who was a runner and was getting lower back and hamstring problems. And so he decided to spend, I think it was 3 months, going worldwide investigating different runners and finding out if they had lower back and hamstring problems. And his investigation revealed many amazing things. He discovered in history in 1960 and 1964, the Olympic Games, an African runner won gold in both of those games. His name was Abibi Bikila, and he was a barefoot runner. So all the running that he did was barefoot. Now, I don't think I could run barefoot for very long because I'm not used to running barefoot. But obviously he was used to running barefoot. And the skin on the bottom of the feet, and we'll look at this tomorrow more when we look at skin, the skin on the bottom of the feet is tougher. It's tougher than anywhere else in the body. And if you run barefoot every day, that skin grows tougher and gets thicker so that you can run barefoot. And I think that definitely is what happened with Abibi Bikila. Now, these companies that make these fancy joggers, they were not happy with Abibi Bikila winning the Olympic Games because they like to think that the people that are winning the games are wearing their shoes, and that's a good advertisement for people who want to get fit to buy their shoes. There's a great deceiver out there, and I have to tell you a little bit about the great deceiver, which can only explain these things. It's found in Revelation chapter 12, we'll start at verse 7, where it explains everything. There was war in heaven, and Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. In verse 9, it says, that great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which has deceived the whole world. The deception is worldwide, even in our running shoes. And what this book shows is that when people run striking with their heel, which you can only do if you've got padded joggers, that's where the hamstring problems come from. That's where the lower back problems come from. What was interesting about this book, Born to Run, is Christopher McDougall is an atheist. And I fast forward whenever I read something I'm not too interested in. And so when he started talking about the evolution of the foot, I just fast forwarded. But one part I found very interesting, well, a lot I found very interesting. He said he was looking at the foot. He looked at the heel. He went to a foot doctor to get all the ins and outs of how the foot works, all the bones and the cushioning effect of the toe and the ball of the foot. That Christopher McDougall, an atheist, in his book, he said, it's an amazing design. And as I'm reading, I thought, well, make up your mind, mate. Did we evolve or were we designed? You can't look at the body for long before you come to the conclusion, we are an amazing design. The foot is an amazing design. And the foot is our connection to the planet, isn't it? Watch how children run. They always run on their toes. They never run on their heels unless they've been brought joggers with padded heels and they've been told they must run on their heels because the body naturally will run on its toes. Because the toes and the ball of the foot have a cushioning effect, they have a shock absorber effect, and they don't cause the lower back, the pelvis, or the hamstrings to be strained. So next time you're near grass, and by the way, I would only run barefoot on the grass if it was grass where there's no chemicals, there's no drugs, there's no animals with droppings, etc., etc. Go for a little run and just watch. Your body will not let you heel strike. It's a toe strike. Christopher McDougall, in his travels, he found other barefoot runners. He found this tribe in Mexico who run through the hills barefoot, never have lower back problems, never have pelvic problems, never have hamstring problems, because they're all toe strikers. So after reading this book, I went to the shop where you buy joggers, and there is a line of barefoot runners that you can buy now, because from this book, which became a bestseller, they brought in a line of barefoot running shoes. So the soles are very thin. In fact, when you put the heel and the toe together, they touch each other. So obviously they're flat, but when you put them together, the toe and the heel meet each other. They're barefoot runners. So I bought some barefoot runners. You'd think they'd be a little bit cheaper than the ones with all the padding, but somehow they managed to make them expensive too. I found it so easy to run because I run up and down hills with my high intensity interval training. And I found it so much easier to run when I'm running on my toes with these light shoes. Now, they're really not good if it's a really rocky road. Because they're thin-soled, you feel everything. So it's very nice on just dirt roads that don't have a lot of rocks, nice on grass, nice on cement, is the barefoot runners. But after a couple of days, my legs and my calves were quite sore. And I came to the conclusion that not only in your feet, but in the whole of your legs, and Miss Christopher McDougall shows too, even your back, even your torso, everything is affected by the way you run. Anyway, the good news is it only took a couple of days before my legs and my calves were no longer sore. And I got used to my barefoot runners, and I'm very used to them now. So be mindful of the way you run. Be mindful of the shoes that you're wearing. It's a pity because so many people wear their joggers a lot. What about flat feet? Well, the beauty of barefoot running, the beauty of running with your toes is it strengthens your arch. My brother-in-law is 6'6". He's a very tall man, and he has flat feet. He's always had flat feet. And he learned about conquering your flat feet by bouncing on your toes. He has 4 children, and 3 of them had flat feet. So what he did with his children, every morning they would spend 10 minutes doing a little sort of a jog, and he made a little song to it called Bouncy Feet, we're bouncing on our bouncy feet. And they would bounce all around the lounge room, all up and down the house on their toes. And he conquered his flat feet by bouncing on his toes. So especially for people who have flat feet, bouncing on their toes and doing that barefoot running on the toes can help that person to strengthen the arch of their feet. My son is a builder, and he said, when you're building an arch in a house, you never support that arch or you'll weaken the arch. Isn't that interesting? So there might be times if you're on your feet a lot where you might put a little bit of arch in your foot until you conquer your flat feet, but your feet can become dependent on that arch. So it's far better for you to strengthen the arch by bouncing on your toes. Bouncing on your toes. I have another story of the feet too, and that is my friend whose husband got very, very sick. And she said it was difficult to do anything to him. His kidneys were starting to shut down. Now, you might be surprised to learn this, but God has put on the bottom of the feet a reflex for every part of the body. And she discovered where the kidney area was on the bottom of the feet. And she began to massage that. What she also did was she got some essential oils. And I know that you're having classes in essential oils, and there are oils that are specific for specific things. And she began to massage that in. Now, she found that the herbs for the kidney are parsley and celery, also dandelion a little bit, and she was able to get some oils of these and massage them in with a little coconut oil. And she said that a huge improvement began when she did that to her husband every day. She couldn't touch any other part of his body, but she could massage the soles of his feet. So massaging the soles of the feet can do much for the whole of the body. So be mindful, again, of what you're doing to your feet. You would not probably have thought about it if we hadn't mentioned that bouncing on the toes, running on your toes, and if you have a rebounder, which is an excellent form of exercise, it is one of the most powerful forms of exercises, you will always be bouncing on your toes. And as you bounce on your toes, your balance can be revived, because our balance is set by our inner ears, but also by the mechanisms on the bottom of the feet. So if your balance is a little unsettled and you're a little bit concerned about going on the rebounder, then you can get a frame and you can hold on to that. If you have a rebounder and not a frame, you could put the rebounder next to some stairs or pole and maybe hold on there. But as you bounce, now when you first start bouncing, remembering that the bouncing is the best, but also understanding if someone has their balance isn't very good and they might be a bit cautious at first, you can just do the bounces without your feet leaving the mat. That's called the health bounce. Just little tiny bounces. And if someone's doing the high intensity interval training, they might be leaping for 30 seconds and then just do the health bounce for 90 seconds. But as they bounce, remember the mechanisms in the inside of the ear and also the bottom of the feet, that reset the balance in the body. Some people have tinnitus and also vertigo, which is also an unsettling in the balance. It can be due to an allergy, and the most common allergen foods are wheat and oats, dairy, peanuts, and refined sugar. And with an allergy to those foods, excess mucus is built up in the eustachian tubes. And when you've got build-up in the sinuses, in those areas, that can affect the ears. So there are a few things that can be done for that. And I'm sure that that's been addressed when, if you've got a feet presentation like today, I'm sure you probably have also an ear presentation, that those things can be addressed at that time. But it's taking also in the feet because the balance is set by the feet. So bouncing on your toes, making sure that your feet are kept warm, making sure that your hands are kept warm. How do we do that? Remember the 8 remedies, those 8 hours sleep a night, ideally starting before midnight. When you look at Dr. Neil Nedley's presentation on what happens, the releases from the pineal gland every night, and they release between the hours of summertime, 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. Winter time, it's 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. I know here in America, and I think also in UK, you have your changeover of time tonight. So then you change those times. So when you do your 8 hours, that can be 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. It can be 9 to 5. That's probably my favorite. It can be 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. That's probably more summertime. In those hours, that's when the body recharges. In those hours is when the cleaning system happens in the brain, detoxing the brain cells. In those hours, that's when your learning capacity hormone is released. In those hours is where serotonin is released. That's your mood hormone. Most people totally underestimate how important it is to sleep those 8 hours every night. It's also important to sleep with natural fibre around you. So these are your cotton sheets, or you can get bamboo sheets or linen sheets. Also woolen blankets, feather blankets, you can get bamboo blankets. Make sure you've got natural fibre around you. Make sure you're getting pure air. Those 8 laws need to be applied to sleep. You sleep much better if you've got fresh air coming in the window. You sleep much better if all your technology's out of your bedroom. You sleep much better if you've got healthy bedding, natural fibre. You sleep much better if you've exercised in the day. Ecclesiastes says the sleep of a labouring man is sweet. You sleep much better in those environments. So the 8 laws, remember Ellen White says in the Ministry of Healing, page 127, she says these are the true remedies. And the only hope of better things is the education of people in the right principles. So let the physicians teach the people that restorative power lies not in drugs, but in nature. Disease is an effort of nature to free the system from conditions that arise because of a violation of the 8 doctors, of those 8 laws of health. So we get back to those true remedies. She also says there that in the case of sickness, the cause should be ascertained. Wrong. Habits corrected. unhealthful conditions changed, then nature is to be assisted in her efforts to expel impurities and re-establish right conditions back in the system. Tomorrow, we'll look at one of the most powerful ways to release impurities out of the system is the skin. And remember, they can come out through the soles of the feet. Expelling impurities is an important part of re-establishing right conditions back in the system. And the soles of the feet throw out waste. You might have heard of Chinese detox patches. They're like a charcoal patch that you put on the bottom of your feet. And some people have said, whoa, there's a lot of waste seems to come out of them. Now, that also shows the importance of making sure whatever your feet touches, it is natural fiber, no chemicals, no plastic fabrics like in your nylon and your acrylics and your polyesters. What you will find if you wear those fabrics on the soles of your feet will sweat. Your feet are sweating, trying to detoxify from the very chemicals that are coming in. So please go over to your natural fiber. If I buy socks and they are 70% merino and they are 30% like a polyester, I don't mind that because it's mostly merino and it's not a lot of polyester, and it gives a little bit of elasticity to the sock. I try to get natural fiber at least 70%. Ideally, I go for 80 or 90. I have bamboo stockings on at the moment and they are 90% bamboo. And there's a little bit of elastine in there, causing it to be elastic. Ellen White says in page 127 of the Ministry of Healing, she says that every person, how many? Every person should have a knowledge of nature's remedial agencies and how to apply them. She shows that it's important both to understand the principles involved in the treatment of the sick and have a practical training that will enable one rightly to use this knowledge. How do you get the practical training? The practical training I got from just starting on myself by doing it to my family. I remember the first time I sliced garlic and applied it to the feet of my sister. She had an asthma attack. Her feet blistered. We couldn't put garlic on her feet again. So this is another area where feet can be used. So when Ellen White says it is important both to understand the principles involved in the treatment of the sick, how do you understand the principles involved? Presentations like what you're hearing on this series is helping you to understand that. But I think the simplest understanding is that the blood is the life of the flesh. And every single organ, my brain, my eyes, my olfactory, my nose, my ears, my mouth, my heart, my digestion, every single part, my hands, the tip of my hands, notice that they're nice and pink because there's a good blood supply going in there because they're nice and warm. And why are they warm? They're warm because I exercise. They're warm because I go to great lengths to make sure what I'm wearing is warm. So when she says it is important both to understand the principles involved, the blood is the life of the flesh. So what does the blood contain? Oxygen. So I must be breathing in fresh air. I must exercise to get that fresh air. The blood contains nutrients. I must be eating a plant-based diet, whole foods, legumes, whole grains, nuts and seeds, keeping away from the hybridization of the hybridization of the wheat happened in the 50s. It went worldwide in the 70s, so by the 1990s. And please have a look at the little book Temperance, page 12. There's a little discussion of how Satan and his angels, remember the great deceiver who's even deceived in the footwear, the great deceiver and his angels, his evil angels, are discussing how they can bring the most calamity to man. Remember, he's a roaring lion. That's what his desire is. And Satan himself came up with the idea he would take the fruit of the vine And we know what he's done with the fruit of the vine. He has created the alcohol. And I think only eternity will show the misery and suffering that alcohol has caused on our planet, and the amount of minds and bodies that were destroyed through this. Then there's a comma. Then she says wheat and other foods that God designed for food, the devil has converted to poisons. Well, that is really challenging, isn't it? But the good news is you can get wheat that is made out of ancient grains. There's your spelt, there's your kamut, there's your inkenhorn. And there are so many grains that God made. We don't need to target the wheat. So when we want the blood to go to the extremities, when we want to understand the principles involved in the treatment of the sick, it's important to understand we need blood into that area, because the blood is the life of the flesh and it carries away waste. We need to be drinking adequate water because the blood carries the water. So that's our part. So no matter who you are, whether you're an IT worker, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a mechanic, whether you're an airline pilot, we all live in bodies that have inbuilt abilities to heal itself. And we all, remember what she said, every person should have a knowledge of nature's remedial agencies. There's your 8 laws. She says those laws are the true remedies. She says every person should have a knowledge of nature's remedial agencies and how to apply them, how to apply that water, not to drink with your meals, to drink between your meals, how to apply them, the high intensity interval training, apply it as to what works in your life. If your knees, if your ankles and your hips aren't happy, maybe you swim, maybe a rowing machine, maybe the rebounder, maybe an exercise bike. So you're the doctor. You find out what works well for your first patient. Remember, your first patient is yourself. And when we look after our bodies and put them in the conditions that God required, then he'll have an army of workers. I don't know about you, but I want to hasten his soon coming. Every person should have a knowledge of nature's remedial agencies and how to apply them. It is important to understand the principles involved in the treatment of the sick and have that practical training to enable one rightly to use this knowledge. The use of natural remedies requires an amount of care and effort that many are not prepared to give. Isn't that true? It's so much easier to give a headache tablet than to give someone a hot foot bath. It is so much easier to give a drug than sit and massage someone's feet. Those natural remedies do require a little bit of care and effort that many are not prepared to give. The surrender of hurtful indulgences requires sacrifice. Nature's process of healing and upbuilding is gradual, and to the impatient it seems slow. I've given you 2 quotes that you can give to people to help them to be patient. Galatians 6 verse 9 and Hebrews 10:35 and onwards. Don't be weary in well-doing. In due season you will reap if you faint not. I'm impatient. I want to be ready right now. And so it's important to have patience. Remember what she says, nature's process of healing and upbuilding is gradual. To the impatient, it does seem slow. But she says, in the end, it will be found that nature untrammeled does her work wisely and well. So that other one was Hebrews chapter 10, verse 35. Cast not away, therefore, thy confidence in this amazing body with its inbuilt ability to heal itself. It does not need drugs. It does not need vaccines. In fact, the vaccine death is exceeding the COVID death at the moment. You're familiar with that? And no one dies from the flu anymore. No one dies of lung cancer anymore. It's given the COVID name. No. God gave us a body with an inbuilt ability to heal itself. And it will heal itself. Cast not away, therefore, thy confidence. The just shall live by faith. The just shall heal by faith. In page 347 of Christ Objects Lesson, page 347, it says, transgression of physical law is transgression of the moral law. For God is as truly the author of the physical law as he is of the moral law. He has written his law with his own finger on every nerve, every muscle, every faculty, every foot, every hand with which we have been entrusted. And every misuse of any part of our organism is a violation of that law. These are not my words. All should become intelligent as to the human frame. How many? All. All should become intelligent as to the human frame and how to keep it in the condition necessary to do the work of the Lord. The relationship that exists between the physical organism and the spiritual life is one of the most important branches of education, and I'd like to suggest one of the most neglected. But look at this last sentence. The physical organism needs to be carefully preserved and developed. The feet need to be carefully preserved and developed. The skin, the knees, the hips, the stomach, the colon, the heart, the eyes, the ears, the brain. The physical organism needs to be carefully preserved. How do we preserve it? The 8 remedies. How do we develop it? The 8 remedies. The physical organism needs to be carefully preserved and developed, that through humanity, the divine nature might be revealed in all of its fullness. Who to? The Bible says in Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1, seeing then that we are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses. They're our family, they're our friends, they're our neighbours, they're our church family, they're our relatives, they're our workmates. Seeing then that we are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which does so easily beset us, and run with patience the race that has been set before us, looking unto Jesus. He's the author and the finisher of our faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is now set down at the right hand of the Father. He's in the sanctuary above right now, interceding for you and me. So consider him. The next bit says, therefore consider him, he who endured such contradiction of sinners against himself, lest ye be weary and faint in your mind. For you have not yet resisted under blood, striving against sin. We need to take this very seriously. It's time to get our feet in order, our hands in order, our body in order, and share what you find. Remember Matthew 15:30, the Bible says, and great multitudes came with him. Great multitudes will come, having with them those that were lame and blind and dumb and maimed and many others, and cast them at Jesus' feet. And Jesus healed them all. That's what he wants to do. He wants to heal them through this medical messenger work. I want to share with you, as we close, Isaiah 52, verse 57. The Bible says, how beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of him that bringeth good tidings. We've got good tidings. The body can heal itself. Of good tidings that publisheth peace. Remember what Jesus said, peace I give you, my peace I leave in you. With you, not as the world giveth, giveth I unto you. That bringeth good tidings of good, that publisheth salvation. That saith unto Zion, thy God reigneth. How beautiful are the feet that do that. Now let me show you something else about the feet. This is found in Ephesians 1:21. For above all principalities and power and might and dominion and every name that is named, not only in this world, but in that which is to come, and hath put all things under his feet. All things under his feet, and gave to him to be the head over all things, which is the church, which is his body, the fullness of him that filleth all in all. And Hebrews 2:7, that has made him a little lower than the angels, that has crowned him with glory and honor and did set him over the works of thy hands, that has put all things in subjection under his feet. But my final quote before we take questions is found in Great Controversy, verse 647. As they gather around the great white throne, gladness unspeakable with their hearts when they behold those whom they have won for Christ, and see that one has gained others, and these still others, and brought into the haven of rest, there to lay their crowns at Jesus' feet. Praise him through the endless ages of eternity. What a wonderful promises are ours. Ever keep before us where we're headed. Ever look to that time where we lay our crowns at the beautiful feet of Jesus. Those beautiful feet that Mary cleansed and washed with her tears, wiped with the hairs of her head, and anointed. Those feet that we can cast our crowns at. I would like to open the floor now for any questions.
Thank you so much, Sister Barbara. We have had a lot of interest, both on YouTube and on Zoom, with questions in the chat. And you're probably going to need another sip of water because they're going to keep you talking for a long time. At the moment, your bandwidth is showing that your bandwidth is low. We're fine at the moment,
okay.
But
yep, I can do that. I'm in an office here, and they needed to use the photocopier, but I'll plug in now because they've already used it. So just give me a minute to plug in.
That's fine. Okay, so Brent and we're going to look through the chat and see what questions there are. There's quite a few. I've thrown a few in there as well.
Okay, I'm plugged in.
Good. Can you hear us? Can you hear us okay? Right, so yeah, so just there was a comment in response to your dragon fruit, and someone just said, yeah, they just tried the yellow one, while which was white on the inside with the chia looking seeds, and they said it was very mild, that a baby would even like it. And yeah, so that was that comment in response to your favorite fruit. Okay, so the first one we had was, I won't necessarily say who it's from in case the individuals want to be anonymous, but the person said their son is 7 and still walks on his toes, which causes cracked, torn skin underneath his toes. His feet look horrible for a child, callous looking. His doctor.
There's a few questions. There's a few questions to that. Does he go barefoot much? Or does he wear socks? And if he wears socks and shoes, what are the socks and shoes?
Yeah.
So you'd have to investigate that. But if I was the mother, I would massage his feet with a bit of castor oil every night. Massage in between the toes. He'll probably giggle because it'll probably tickle.
Yeah. So you dealt with the second part about, other than using steroids, go for the massage and the castor oil to deal with the cracks.
Steroids. No steroids at all. Yeah, and I would get him on a trampoline. Get him trampolining. Okay. That'll get the use of his foot a bit better.
So the idea of the child walking on his toes at age 7, is that an issue?
It's difficult to comment. I'd need to know a little bit more. Walking on the toes isn't a big deal, but to encourage him to walk more on the flat of his feet, I would get him trampolining every day.
Okay.
Now, if you've got a trampoline, you don't have to ask the children to go on it. They love it. But bouncing would strengthen his feet.
Okay, that's brilliant, because I know that's something I used to do as a little, and I used to walk on my feet, and I always ran on my toes, and I always ran on my toes until somebody told me much later on in life that I should be running differently. But there you go.
Well, they were wrong.
Yeah, as you said, it's more natural to run on the toes. Because it was natural for me to run on my toes. Brent, can you take another question in the chat, the next one down?
I've got a question. It's quite a broad question. It's directed straight towards me, which was when someone has dark circles under the eye, is it an indication of a medical condition? I was asked.
Okay.
Do you want me to comment?
Yes, Barbara, could comment on that.
Okay. Dark circles under the eyes can mean a few things. It could be lack of sleep. It also could be, sometimes that can indicate the kidneys aren't really happy. So one would have a look at, are they drinking adequate water, and also having the right salt, the Celtic salt. One would also look whether they may be looking at the food that they're eating. So that's what, if I was the person, I would maybe make some adjustments with the food, make sure there's no refined, try eliminating the 5 allergens, make sure they're exercising every day, and getting their 8 hours sleep and drinking adequate water. That's what I would have a look at. And my 2 favourite kidney herbs are parsley and celery. Make sure they implement that in the diet every day.
Okay.
Thank you for that. Right, there was a question which you've dealt with anyway, which was to do with using cayenne pepper and coconut oil on the feet to assist with warming them up. You mentioned the cayenne pepper poultice, so I suppose you could do that with coconut oil as well, or any other oil. You did mention olive oil. There was another.
You could, but in the cold weather, the coconut oil is often solid, so it's a little bit harder to sprinkle on the cloth.
Yeah, I suppose if they were massaging it directly, the warmth of the body warmth would warm it up, but then maybe.
Certainly would.
Yeah.
Certainly would.
Can cayenne poultice be used on the knees to help with knee pain?
You can certainly try that. In fact, I have found that knee pain can happen if someone's carrying too much weight. Knee pain, can be caused from a few things. But we have found that a grated ginger poultice is very good at getting the inflammation out of knees, and sleeping with castor oil compress overnight can certainly help knee pain.
Okay.
Maybe we could do another meeting on knees one day.
Maybe we can. That's still part of the body being fearfully and wonderfully made. And I'd be interested in that one, actually.
That's true.
Yeah, the knees. Someone says, yeah, the cold rag on the forehead. They got that one afterwards. That was dealt with. Someone from YouTube says, does an operation on the feet and legs cause coldness? Does operation? Yeah, that's what the question says, I believe.
Well, it would, yeah. Well, it could be a contributing factor, but it could be remedied by the cayenne compresses on the bottom of the feet.
Thank you. Brent, can you ask another question as I scroll through these?
Yeah, I have a question here. Do you have a view on vibration devices and vibration plates for the feet? Some have little magnets, some have very small electrical currents, and some are integrated in foot baths, but all are said to be designed to improve circulation. Any thoughts?
They definitely do. They definitely do, because the vibrations are awakening the nerves, which call the blood to that area. I like to keep things cheap, and I like to keep things simple, and But, you know, if you have those things, they certainly can help, but they really don't take the place of exercise.
Okay, thank you, Barbara.
Another question, what do you recommend for corns on the soles of feet? And are they the same as calluses, corns and calluses on the soles?
Calluses can be a build-up because, you know, if someone's got ill-fitting shoes, they can, you know, calluses can develop because of ill-fitting shoes. And, you know, I spend a bit of time on natural fibre, but, you know, it's also so important to have shoes that are comfortable, you know, those stiletto high shoes. I know one lady who was unable to have her baby naturally. She had to have cesareans because wearing stilettos for years, you know, high shoes, put her pelvis out. So ill-fitting shoes are an absolute no-no. I spend a lot of money on good shoes because I'm going to be on them a lot. But the corns are a little bit different. They can, you know, there can be a few factors that come in for corns. There can, again, be ill-fitting shoes. We should go barefoot as much as possible and let those feet spray out. Now, if barefoot's not possible because you live in New York, the rebounder really spreads the toes out too. But what can be done for corns and calluses is castor oil. Put castor oil compresses on overnight. And that's made with, like, you know, a few layers of cloths moistened with castor oil and a little bit of plastic over that, then bandaged on. That can soften them nicely.
Thank you. Sorry, I keep muting and forgetting to unmute. So there's you said castor oil for that one. Right. Another question. What do you, now this question is kind of not full, but maybe you can understand what they're saying. What do you recommend for someone who has a bad toe, not an ingrown toenail, but similar, in which the flesh under the nail pushes out? And then there was an extra done, don't quite get that, and there is nothing sinister. Would a hot and cold bath help, or contrast foot bath?
It's certainly worth a try, very much worth a try. But I think that I do a hot and cold foot bath every day. Again, the trampolining is great for toes and spreading them out and massaging the feet. But also she could try a castor oil compress on the toe overnight.
Okay, thank you. I hope that's dealt with the question. Brent, can you just take the next one? This phone here is ringing.
Yes, I have a question, Barbara, which is I have cold and sore feet, and told it could be neuropathy, but has never been consistently made sense, as different experts have said yes and others have said no. What would your view be on that?
To me, it doesn't matter what their diagnosis is. It's whatever works. So for a situation like that, I would try the cane compress on the bottom of the feet. And again, make sure they have proper footwear. One of my favourite sandals for the summer is Birkenstocks. They're a German sandal, and they're cork covered in a like a suede, and my husband doesn't let me lecture in them because they're not feminine, but they're very, very nice to wear. You know, your feet are stretched, not stretched out, but they're allowed to just relax. They're very comfortable. So you know, again, make sure the footwear's good. Try walking bare feet. Now, and again, it doesn't matter what the diagnosis is. You just try different things, and whatever works, that's your body saying, this is what I want you to do. I'd like to make one more comment. We had a guest come who had burning feet at our retreat. I've been away from our retreat for 8 months. And the staff said, what will we do for his burning feet at night? I said, the cane compresses. Now, one would think that's the worst thing that you want to put on feet that are burning. But I said, no, give it a try. Well, it totally resolved his burning feet. They did it Monday night and they did it Wednesday night. He went home with no burning feet.
Amen. That's excellent. Okay, someone's put on the chat, I've got arched feet, which is better, flat or arched? Now, I'm assuming they mean overarched, because arched feet is normal. You need to have I think there's 2 arches in the foot when you look at feet anatomy. So this person's asking which is better, flat or arched? I guess you would just say arched.
Yeah, the arched feet certainly is better. And if it causes you no problems, I wouldn't worry about it. I've got a very high arch. In fact, when people look at my feet, they say I would have made a good ballerina.
Okay.
But, you know, it's just feet. You know, it's what we're born with.
Yeah. Okay. I like the reference to the trampoline stroke rebounder, because I'm often reminded to use it when we talk about the lymphatic system, but speaking about foot health, I'd never really thought about that. So that's great. An individual just asks, how long should you bounce every day?
Well, the good news is you only have to do 3 minutes 3 times a day.
Yeah, you did say that.
And, you know, that has a powerful effect. If you rebound in the morning for 2 minutes, that gets your lymphatic system started. Well, it always, of course, moves a little bit, but at its peak efficiency, it's 2 minutes rebounding, and that remains doing its lymphatic work for 24 hours, which is good news. Now, some people want to do the high-intensity interval training on it, which you certainly can do. So some will do, 30 seconds leaping high into the air, and that can certainly get high intensity, or jogging on the rebounder will get it. And then they might, for their recovery time, they might get off onto the ground and just do some stretches and then get back on. So, there's a few things you can do. But the good news is you don't have to do very much. It's very powerful. But if you want to rebound for an hour, no one's stopping you.
Yeah. Okay. So you don't need to do more than the 3 minutes, but if you want to go for it. And
you will not suffer. I just find most people today are pushed for time.
Yeah. Okay. Any more questions on there for Barbara?
Yeah, I have one. Something I haven't heard of before. Do you have any advice for repetitive strain injury, RSR?
Yes, repetitive strain injury is exactly what the name says. The person's just doing one activity again and again and again and again. So what they've got to do is, because it often happens with typists, if every hour they just stretched their hands, even for 30 seconds, do your big arm exercises, it's just the body screaming out because you've used one area of the body too much. So it's compensating for that. In fact, every office should have rebounders in it, and everyone in the office should do a 1 minute every hour.
Wow.
And do, in fact, if you jump on the rebounder with your arms out, that gives your biceps, your triceps a really good workout.
Maybe I should bring mine into work.
And the other really good thing for repetitive stress injury is push-ups, because when you push up, you're stretching your arms out or your hands out.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for your comments as well, Colin. They never cease to make me smile. So yeah, thank you for that. And I think anyone else who's seen Colin's comments, you will agree. Now this one's not specific. Well, this one's not on the topic at all. But you never know. This person could be struggling a lot. What's good for a blocked nose?
Well, if you've got a cold, then your nose will be blocked, and you blow your nose, and everything that comes out, praise God, it's all the waste that comes out, because a cold is a house clean. That's what a cold is. But if someone has regularly blocked noses, I would investigate. It can be because they've got an allergy, maybe an allergy to the air they're breathing, maybe chemicals in the air, maybe mold in the air, or it could be an allergy to the 5 allergens. That's your hybridized wheat, your dairy. Dairy commonly causes blocked noses.
Yeah.
Oats, wheat, we did wheat, peanuts, and refined sugar. So once you eliminate those foods, it can take at least 2 months before a person can see a full result from that, because it takes that long, for your next set of white blood cells, red blood cells to be made. So it takes that long to see a full, a full response.
Okay. I've just been handed a question. Thank you for dealing with that one. I know it's slightly off topic, but thank you all the same. I hope it will help somebody. And 2 here. One's to do with diabetes. This person has numbness at the side of the leg. What can they do for that? I think maybe it's also tingling as well. Yeah, because my aunt.
Okay, well, you can bind cayenne pepper compresses onto the leg, bandage them on overnight. That brings the feeling back into that area.
Okay. So it's good stuff. Well, we know it's good stuff, but you can use it several places. What can you would it have any effect of like irritating the skin? What would you need to do to stop that?
Never.
Okay.
In fact, in the book, I have never seen it irritate the skin.
Excellent, excellent.
Now, I probably wouldn't put it on an open graze.
Yeah. I hear you. Okay. Use common sense. That was one of the things you spoke about earlier. When I say earlier, I mean in a previous presentation when you were talking about the truth. Okay, there's a question here from YouTube. I don't quite understand how it's written, but I think I've got here. This person has pain at the bottom of their feet or all of the foot.
No.
Sorry?
The ball of the foot,
sorry.
Sharp pain.
Sharp pains. And what's this thing about cramps? Is that a different question?
Then it gets cramps as well.
They also get cramps.
What would you suggest?
So what would you suggest?
I'd have a look at how long it's been there. I'd also see if a foot massage helps. I'd also rebound, because the beauty of a rebounder, if you've got a cushioning effect there, and it'd be a matter of seeing what helps. Sometimes, again, it can be from ill-fitting shoes. You have to be very. I'm very fussy on my shoes because ill-fitting shoes can cause a whole lot of problems. All we have to do is look at the very extreme history of China of those poor women whose feet were so badly bound, for the rest of their life, all they could do was limp.
Okay, so I'm looking at my screen and there's so many questions. I don't think we can take much more, not because we can't take much more, but I mean as in time wise. We really look forward to learning at the feet of Jesus forever. Well, not forever, but time won't be an issue then. So really looking forward to that. There's Brent, can you just ask another one as I look through here? And it sounds like the rebounder is the answer to so many things.
Oh yeah. It is.
I've got one here where they seem quite desperate. My friend's husband is very ill. She told me today that her husband is bedridden. The problem is that he could not move his feet and was complaining of feeling like needles on his feet. How can we assist him and cramps?
Yes, I would massage his feet with castor oil. That will really soften the cracks. So I would try and do that a couple of times a day. The story I just gave of the woman with the cold feet, and I massaged her feet and how it brought life into that feet. And of course, the life is the blood. But I would do that first, and that would put a little bit of a barrier and a healing of the cracks. And I would do the cayenne pepper at night. and maybe every second night.
Yes.
I taught every Friday night, my little grandsons would massage my husband's feet, Pa's feet. That was a little highlight every Friday night. So you teach the children from a very young age to massage the feet. It's a lovely skill for them to have.
Yeah, and it's going to enhance the bonding as well. Now, someone has asked if they are able to unmute and ask questions, but I'm sure they'll appreciate this. There are so many questions. If we asked one person to unmute, it would take a lot longer to get through these questions. And I know we're not going to be able to get through all of them. Another person has also said, is it possible to have so that those who are deaf can get the information? And my recommendation, although it's not perfect, but my recommendation is to watch on YouTube and use closed captions. So that way you're able to get the subtitles appear. And I know it's not best. It would be best to have somebody doing sign language. My sign language is very limited. I haven't got translation skills at all for, at the level of being a qualified translator. So my best suggestion would be to use closed captions. Right, 2 quick ones off YouTube. I'm going to put 2 questions in one. One is, what can be done for plantar fasciitis? And the other one was on the soles of the feet. What was that one? Was it bunions? Bunions and then plantar fasciitis. I'll try and combine the questions into 2 now.
Okay, with the bunions, it's very similar to the corns and the calluses, which is trampolining, a bit of barefoot walking if possible, and the castor oil overnight. But you really have to, if you talk to a podiatrist, they would tell you so many feet have been ruined through bad footwear. So the Birkenstock shoes, that they are the sandals. I'd suggest the person with the bunion invest in them. Now, my Birkenstocks usually last me 7 years, so they're very good value. Plantar fasciitis, the hot and cold treatment that I referred to earlier, 3 minutes hot, 30 seconds ice cold. The person with plantar fasciitis, if they do that every morning and every night, their plantar fasciitis will heal. Now, usually they say it takes 10 months to heal plantar fasciitis, and you can heal that in 5 to 6 months. You can really shorten the time by your hot and colds. And if you can get a foot massage from someone in there, that will speed it up. So we had a lady come to our retreat with plantar fasciitis, and she was limping, and she'd had it for 18 months. So we did hot and colds in the morning, hot and colds in the evening, and within 2 days she was walking normally. And she'd been limping for months. Now, she's not totally healed. She'll need to do, I say, at least once a day do the hot and colds. If you can do hot and colds twice a day, it'll speed up the process. But you've got to be prepared for a couple of months. I know I've seen people with it and they've been in a lot of pain, and they do the hot and colds, and pain goes from 9 out of 10 to 2 out of 10. Just 15 minutes hot and colds.
Wow, that's impressive. That is really impressive. Carefully and marvelously made, wonderfully made. Right, now we're going to go no more than 10 minutes with these questions. So, we've got to be temperate. We are called True Temperance after all.
Yeah.
And another person said, can we allow people to unmute to get more engagement? But again, for those reasons, we're going to reduce that.
And there'll be time tomorrow too.
Of course. Thank you for the plug. Okay, tomorrow we'll be looking at skin, nails, and hair, skin, and nails, the integumentary system. So tomorrow at 2:00 UK time, Barbara will be back with us. So thank you for that reminder. Although I'm sure there'll be plenty of questions on the skin, hair, and nails anyway. There was one here on the soles of the feet. They were talking about ganglion cysts, painful ganglion cysts on the soles of the feet. What can be done for that?
Again, that's similar to bunion.
Okay.
Rebounding, barefoot walking, massage, castor oil.
So if you do that, that can deal with many of the complaints. Rebounding, massaging, hot and cold. Yeah, wow, okay.
And castor oil.
Yeah, specifically castor oil.
Castor oil penetrates deep. It's even able to break up bone spurs. So, you know, it's well able to break that up.
Okay. Here's another one here. I have cold and sore feet and I was told it could be neuropathy, but this has never consistently made sense, as different experts have said yes and others have said no. Is this going to be the same thing?
It sounds like the question we recently had, but again, it doesn't matter what it is. If it responds, and it will respond to the cayenne pepper compresses.
So I would say the same for peripheral neuropathy as well.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a few things that people that are speaking about tingling sensations.
Yeah, any tingling sensation, rebounding, get the blood into that feet, exercise, and cayenne pepper compresses.
Right.
Sharon, as you know, I sent you that direct message, which I think might need a consultation. And it just touches on my wife had an anaphylactic shock following a test, fit spray, Bitrix, denatonium benzoate, being revised with adrenaline, and she survived. However, lost her voice for more than 2 months, still doing speech and language therapy since last year, lost most of her hair and unable to absorb iron or vitamin D, but recently has been diagnosed with Hashimoto's, I believe, and it goes on and speaks about different medications that were given and so on. Barbara.
Now, Edgar's got my email. You could flick that onto my email because I've got a few papers I can send them. I feel very bad for people that have been through that, eh?
Okay, yes. So, what we'll do is we'll send it on to you then, and then you can maybe consult them directly.
I can give them some information on that.
Okay. So if we can possibly have you, should we put your email in the chat? Or get the individual to contact us?
The problem is, in 24 hours, I'm flying back to Australia where I can no longer answer.
Okay. Oh, right.
Ooh.
Okay, so we are blessed to have you on here. Right, okay. Well, I knew that anyway.
In fact, you're getting me in my last 5 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
So
I will just save that message in an email and I'll forward it on to Sharon, then you can get it on to Barbara.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have to do that quickly.
Yeah.
Someone's asking about their toes that are pointing outwards when they walk rather than walking with their feet straight. Is there anything they can do to fix that foot posture?
Sometimes it's spine. Might be an idea for them to visit a chiropractor or an osteopath and just check the spine. And rebounding's pretty good.
You're not endorsing any particular rebounders, so we make a note. There's no brand naming.
But don't buy cheap and nasty one.
Okay.
Be prepared to spend several hundred.
Okay, I'm just looking through the chat again. There's lots to do with tingling. Right, okay. I think we may have come to the end. Right, so do you have a challenge? And I think I know what it's going to be. I could almost guess what your challenge is going to be, but do you have a challenge for us, Barbara?
Yes, I do. Here's the big challenge. Can you be in bed by 9 o'clock tonight?
That's a big one.
And when you wake up in the morning, implement the high intensity interval training. Now, I know they're two big challenges.
So that's only an hour and 45 minutes, Barbara, where I am. So
Okay, so high intensity interval training, HIIT. You can look that one up. You can do a little research and you can find lots of different examples, and get to sleep.
Yeah.
To sleep. I think that's brilliant. And I'm going to take this opportunity to thank you so much. And we really are looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow. So
Good.
God bless you.
Okay.
Brent, do you have any closing remarks before I just run the promo slides again?
Yeah, we'd just like to wish Barbara a safe trip back home, and just pray that she touches many hearts when she gets back to her home place in Australia.
Yeah, thank you. It's been good to be part of your program. I think I can hear a South African accent there, can I?
Yes, you can. I was in the UK for 5 years, Barbara. I just arrived back in December 2020 after being there for 5 years, and hasn't affected it much.
Okay, good. Okay, so praise God for this series, and we'll come on again tomorrow. Okay. So you're going at 2 p.m. tomorrow, yeah?
Yes, that's 2 till 4 tomorrow. That's
okay?
UK time.
We change our clocks tonight too. As soon as I wake up in the morning, I'll have a look at that. But I'll be here. I
believe that's the time that you gave to Edgar, 2 till 4. Yeah. Okay, so slightly different time tomorrow, 2 o'clock, not 3 o'clock. So make a note of that, set your alarms, put a message on your phone, whatever, to alert yourself that we are going to be looking at the armor of God and how it relates to our skin, hair, and nails, the integumentary system. So that's there on there for everyone. This is a reminder of our Telegram groups. We have the URLs there. So
goodbye.
Oh, Barbara, you're going. Okay. Well,
okay.
Goodbye. And we'll
Thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow.
Many thanks, and we'll stay in touch.
Thank you.
Okay. So just to remind individuals, we do have our Telegram groups. Take a screenshot of this, please, so that you can join us and stay in touch with us in the week. Brent?
Yes, and then please jump onto our Tuesday evenings discussion, where we discuss very important topics related to the Bible, and that will be hosted by Brother Lewis, and we also have our other brother there from America. And yes, please jump on there. That's between 7 and 8 p.m.
Okay, so that's Alvin and Lewis,
Lewis
doing the Bible discussions. Then, as Barbara mentioned earlier, we do have our essential oils classes. So we have one coming on this Thursday, 7 p.m. UK time. We will put the details of the Zoom details. We will post that in those groups. So please try and join our you do need to have Telegram already downloaded on your device, and if you don't have that, just send me a direct message, and there could be a way that we can still get the information to you. And thanking you everyone for your support, for joining us on True Temperance International today and previously, and thanking you in advance. And if you wish to bless us financially, we do have some projects coming up. We are currently involved in some projects. We'll be doing a roadshow on the 27th of November in Manchester. We'll be going live there, and hopefully we'll be able to Zoom whilst we're there doing one of the presentations. So stay tuned, we'll keep you informed, but we do appreciate all your support through prayers, through your joining, sharing the links, and if you feel so blessed to assist us financially again, that will help us to stay on air and to continue with our community projects as well. And that's it for screen share. So are we going to say goodbye to those of you who are joining us on YouTube now? I think we will. Okay, so for those of you who are on YouTube, thank you for joining us. We appreciate your presence, your company, and I know we haven't gone through all of the questions because there were so many, but I think we've got through most of them. A lot of them were on the same theme, but that's understandably because it's the theme we're talking about. So we've tried to cover most of them.
And that consultation that Barbara wants us to forward on, Sharon, should I just send that on the group? Copy?
Yes, so long as we have the number of or an email address of that individual, then we can forward on Barbara's email, but they'll have to move quickly.
Okay.
They've messaged you directly.
Yes, let me just check.
Okay, so we'll finish on YouTube. So bye YouTube viewers, and those of you who are on Zoom,